Top 6 Major Changes in Global Economic Policy 2024. In 2024, the global economy continues to face a number of major challenges, such as continued geopolitical conflicts, inflation and interest rates remain high, natural disasters, and extreme weather conditions. In response to the challenge, many countries have actively implemented policy adjustments aimed at accelerating the recovery process and protecting the economy against intense competition from rivals around the globe. And here are the top 6 major changes in Global Economic Policy 2024 that AllThingsTop will bring to you. USA. The administration of President Joe Biden in 2024 continues to accelerate investment programs in infrastructure, especially in the field of technology, renewable energy, and digital infrastructure. Despite the difficulties and challenges, the world's largest economy still demonstrates strong resilience, better than expected. On trade policy, in September 2024, the White House announced the decision to raise tariffs to 100% on electric vehicles, EVs, and 25% on electric vehicle batteries from China, starting in early October 2024. On November 29th, the U.S. Commerce Department announced a dumping tariff of 21.31% to 271.2% with solar panels coming from Southeast Asian countries, depending on the manufacturing company. Next, by December 2024, the world's largest power announced the lifting of tariffs from 25% to 50% on some other Chinese technology items, effective January 1, 2025. Earlier, the country also announced tightening restrictions to prevent China from accessing its advanced semiconductor technology. On monetary policy, the Federal Reserve Fed, on December 18th, cut interest rates by 0.25 percentage points, bringing the reference rate to 4.25 to 4.5%. This is the third consecutive time the agency has reduced interest rates, after the downgrades of 0.5 percentage points and 0.25 percentage points respectively Tuesday and November 2024. The Fed's move to ease monetary policy has created leverage for markets and partly supported the outlook for world economic growth. Donald Trump was elected President of the United States after the November 2024 election. With the U.S. about to have a new government apparatus, it is expected that the economic, trade policies of the world's largest economy will have many changes in 2025. European Union, EU. The economy of the old continent in 2024 has not really escaped difficulties. Compared to gross domestic product (GDP) growth of 0.4% in 2023, this year's GDP of the Eurozone is expected to grow by 0.8%. But European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde warned that the risk to growth remains on the negative side. The most important highlight of the EU's 2024 is that the Artificial Intelligence AI law, officially approved by the European Commission, EC, lays the world's first legal foundation for managing the emerging technology sector and related investment activities. On fiscal policy, EU leaders on March 22 agreed to implement a tighter fiscal policy for the European Economic Area in 2025 to ensure the goal of keeping the budget deficit below 3% of GDP and public debt below 60% of GDP. In addition, 27 EU countries have adopted plans on how to attract private capital into Europe to finance the ecological and digital economic transition, increasing competition for critical technologies and raw materials, with an emphasis on creating an EU Capital Market Alliance (CMU), reducing barriers to cross-border private investment. On trade policy, on October 29th, the EU officially announced the imposition of tariffs on electric vehicles manufactured in China with tariffs of up to 45.3%. effective from October 30th and lasting for 5 years. The move is expected to trigger a trade war between the EU and China in the near future. On December 17th, the European Parliament EP formally approved a proposal to postpone a 12-month implementation of the EU Anti-Deforestation Regulation EUDR. one of the main pillars of the Green Deal. The EP agreed to bring the time of the new law into effect on December 30th, 2025 for large companies and on June 30th, 2026 for small businesses. This change has enabled agricultural exporters, such as coffee, palm oil, and cladding in developing countries, to have more time to adapt to the new EU regulation. In 2024, the ECB has for times lowered interest rates, bringing the base rate to 3% from a peak of 4.5%. According to economists, it is likely that the ECB will have more interest rate cuts next year, as Eurozone economic growth is being held back by political instability in the region and the risk of increasing trade tensions with the United States. Britain. In 2024, Britain continues to face challenges after leaving the European Union Brexit, particularly in the areas of trade, supply chains, and labor. To mitigate the negative effects of Brexit, the UK has expanded the signing of bilateral free trade agreements with many other countries and become the first European country to officially join the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP) since December 15, 2024. After winning the July 4th general election, new British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is step-by-step implementing the commitments he made during his previous campaign, including adjusting personal and corporate taxes, removing the previous government's controversial migrant deportation plan, and expanding social security support for its citizens. The Bank of England had to interest rate reductions of 0.25 percentage points in August and 2024, bringing the reference rate to 4.75%. However, at the most recent meeting in November 2024, the BO said the UK government's new budget would likely increase inflation and accelerate economic growth. As a result, while signaling there will continue to be interest rate cuts in 2025, BO officials will be more cautious about cutting interest rates too quickly. Australia. Oceania's largest economy is witnessing an economic recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic, but still faces challenges from inflation, especially in areas such as housing and food. In 2024, the Australian government continues to maintain supportive fiscal policies to promote consumption and investment in the economy. In terms of trade and investment tensions between Australia and China are gradually being disengaged. However, to avoid excessive reliance on the world's second-largest power, the Australian government has focused on expanding its new trading partner, boosting ties with Southeast Asian and East Asian countries. During the post-COVID-19 monetary policy tightening cycle, the Reserve Bank of Australia, RBA, raised interest rates from 0.10% to 4.35%, much less than other major central banks. Due to the prolonged high inflation risk, in 2024, the RBA decided to keep interest rates at the highest level in the last 13 years, but said it would consider lowering interest rates in 2025 if the economic data gradually increased according to the agency's forecasts. China. In 2024, Asia's largest economy is still trying to recover. Earlier this year, the Chinese government made the transition from an export and investment-based growth model to a sustainable growth model based on domestic consumption and innovation. With the support of the government, China's high-tech industries have flourished, quickly reaching out to the international market, such as electric vehicles, electric car batteries, solar cells, wind turbines. From the end of September 2024, the Chinese government began to take a series of measures to remove difficulties for the real estate market, such as lowering lending rates on mortgages for home purchases, easing regulations on buying second homes, redeeming excess apartment supplies. By November 2024, a fiscal stimulus package worth 10,000 billion yuan, 1,400 billion United States dollars, was approved by the Standing Committee of the National Assembly, focusing on measures to support local governments to restructure debt. Most recently, at the Politburo meeting of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China on December 9th, policymakers proposed implementing a reasonable easing monetary policy, marking China's first monetary policy adjustment since 2011. According to experts, this is a sign of a strong financial stimulus plan, a massive rate cut, and the purchase of assets by 2025 by the world's second economy. Japan. Although recovering consumer demand has brought brightness to the Japanese economy in 2024, low capital spending and external demand suggest that the economy still lacks support for overall recovery. The prominent issue of the Japanese economy in 2024 continues to be the yen slipping against the dollar, falling to the lowest level in the last 38 years. The devaluation of the yen caused the price of imports to rise and caused the loss of investment flows. From March 2024, the Bank of Japan BOJ ended its negative interest rate policy, then raised the short-term interest rate to 0.25% in July 2024. This suggests that the BOJ is moving away from a period of strong monetary easing, which has lasted for the past 2 decades. The BOJ's actions have caused tremors across global financial markets, as most of the other major central banks have the opposite direction. After the monetary policy meeting on December 19th, the BOJ decided to maintain the base interest rate at 0.25%, but confirmed its willingness to raise interest rates in 2025 if wages and prices continue to evolve as expected. In addition to BOJ stimulus measures, the Japanese government in July 2024 intervened in the currency market, totaling more than 5.53 billion yen, about 36.8 billion. Earlier in late May 2024, the Japanese government also confirmed the first wave of monetary interventions since October 2022, totaling about 19.3 billion. In 2024, economies from developing to developing face major challenges in sustaining sustainable growth. It is expected that by 2025, policies focused on energy transformation, high-tech development, labor reform, and fiscal stability will be important factors in shaping each country's economy and the global economy. Here are the top 6 major changes in global economic policy 2024 that AllThingsTop has brought to you. Like and subscribe to the channel to watch many interesting videos. Goodbye and see you next time.